speak in polyrhythms?
Dude, when I was at work the last night, we have a machine that literally just punches holes in bags, and it was going in 15/8.
What the fuck?
It was running at 15/8.
Some like fucking tool machinery going on.
Annoyed the shit out of me all night.
Bring out the Danny Carey machine.
Only because I couldn't stop counting it.
That's how it is for me at work. Like I listen to like all of the things that knock, and I'm like, all right, that's a rhythm. They're like, that's 6/8.
We had the same machine once running at like 17 or 19/8 too.
Jesus.
I always get like I'll find like the like where to count with like polyrhythms and stuff like that, but then like some things, you know, there'll be multiples or what do you call factors, like where I'll be like is that, oh, like that's 6/8. They're like, no, that's 3/4. I'm like, well, I mean, okay, so like I'm just counting like on the
as a drummer, that one bothers me because
the 6/8 and 3/4.
6/8. And if you just say 3/4, they're the fucking same.
Yeah.
You have to look at it written to really tell the difference between 6/8 and 3/4.
Well, like the measure would be like when everybody pretty much gets done doing their thing, and then you come back to something that was already agreed upon before, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a really stupid way to explain music, but like that's because I had like one teacher that they would be. This was when I was like 20-something and had a music class for the first time, and they were like really like adamant about like the numbers had to be correct. Like so, if, like it's not necessarily it would be like something like odd, like 12/6 or 12/8, and you know like 6/4, something like that. I always just I was more concerned with can I stay on rhythm. And like,
does it sound right? Can I fall about where everyone else falls? That's usually what I was always doing in like band, because I played trombone like all through high school and shit like that. And it was more like I never practiced really any at all. I just did it. I would show up because like I really liked being around music and didn't care that much until like really late into high school. And so it's just like, I'm gonna see when everyone else moves. Okay, we're all moving together. Okay.
I never took band. Like, I had piano lessons as, like, a little boy. I can't remember shit from piano lessons. I think I could play, like, Alouetta, you know? Like, I think that's, like, you learn in, like, your first week or so. But you were, before we got rolling, you had said something about, like, sign a release form to be on somebody's land? Like, what the fuck is that about?
So we went... We were helping some friends out in another band, and we went to Alabama. We went to Montgomery, and first of all, it was on like my first ever celebrated Black holiday, and I spent it in Montgomery, Alabama, but like in the sticks.
With a 16-foot Confederate flag hanging from it.
Like it was
that's welcoming.
fucking mungus. It was huge, and like we were pulling in, and then just see it hung between two trees, and I was like, dude, I don't need to be here.
And part of the release forms was don't take pictures here.
Yeah, like you can't take pictures or video
like
or anything. If you do, it has to be at a certain angle so you don't see anything else.
What the fuck?
Because like they have like Confederate flags on their stage, and then they have this huge one, and then they have it on their clubhouse and all this stuff, and they're like, yeah. There was one other black guy that came here once, and he was last year with the same band because that came to play a show there. And I was like, wow. The thing that killed me is that everyone came to like shake my hand just to see what I sounded like, I think. Let's see which kind he is.
When a black person's a novelty for somebody. I'll see that a lot with stuff on social media where I guess it's folks that have like the white savior complex where they want to prove to you just like hey man, I'm not one of the bad white people. I'm one of the good ones.
I had 30,000 of those fucking conversations, and we were there for 2 days.
Yeah, I refuse to have conversations like that.
Yeah, like they walked over, they wanted to shake my hand, they sat down, they offered us beer, and then they got right to the thick of it. They're like, so how do you feel? Because like this was right when the riots were happening.
Right. Oh yeah, the representative of all black people.
They're like, how do you feel?
That's actually the whole crux of this episode. it took me 29 I'm just so deeply racist. I didn't know how else to go about it.
Thank fuck. we found the guy. The whole time I was like, dude, I really want to go home. Please don't talk to me about this kind of stuff right now.
It's like, wow, can't we just talk about like fucking music? Like everybody's musicians.
And that was the other thing is they were all like, we need you to play a song for us. And I was like, this isn't my thing. I'm not working. And they were like, but you have a guitar, so do it.
Well, maybe
when really he just bought that guitar.
Yeah, like I bought it. I bought it there because I was like, holy shit, that's a pretty ass guitar, and we brought it to the campgrounds or whatever. And then they were like, oh, you got one now, do it. And then the second night, they played the Dixie theme song, like oh, I wish I was in Dixie, like it's. And they were staring at me, waiting for me to get uncomfortable, and I'm like sitting really deep into a camping chair, like. Please be over, please be over, please be over. And the guy we were working with, he messaged me not that long ago, and he's like, dude, I'm so sorry about all of that. I was like, no, it's my favorite story to tell now. Like, oh my goodness, it was hilarious. I spent Juneteenth on the Dixie Biker Association's, like, proper.
So you're going to go back next Juneteenth?
If they let us. I told him, I was like, dude, there's nothing to apologize about. Next time we might play. He was like, please, like, I'll give you guys like an 8-song gap. And I was like, oh, they're going to love it.
So wait, the other band, like, it wasn't their first time being there?
No, they had played before. I still want to know the story of how that happened. Because, like, they play, like, Harley Davidson dealerships and stuff like that. And so somehow they ended up there. Because I think Montgomery does have one, like have a Harley dealership, and I think that some of those guys just came there because like all of them are like super heavy duty, like Harley Davidson guys.
Right.
Yeah, it's basically a bike club.
Yeah, and then I guess that's just how they ended up there or whatever, and no one knew that was what was going on until they got there.
And presumed Klan country, what it sounds like with a
there were like trailers
flag.
off in the woods and stuff, and there were trails we weren't allowed to go down and stuff like that.
They do realize that the Democrats lost in the Confederacy, right? That the war ended. And,
I'm really interested to see like how they're feeling right now, because like they were like super anti-mask people, like. You know who they voted for last time, that type of shit. And so the whole, like, as soon as, like, they started coming down and talking to us, I was like, dude, I need one of you guys to be my buddy in case I just disappear out of nowhere. I need someone to raise a flag or some shit, because, like, I'm the one there. Like, I'm used to being, like, a token or, like, one of the guys in, like, the scene or whatever. That's normal for me.
Right.
But, like, I can tell some of those people don't really talk to, like, people of color a lot.
I had I was somewhere near Barney, and I was like off road in like this little like Kia Rio that I used to drive, and got it stuck, and then I had to wait for help to essentially come by, and of course they did, and I was like really thankful, and then they're like oh hey, me and the missus, we're going down here to the river, we'll take you and your girl back up here in a little bit. I was like, okay, yeah, sweet, thank you. Just trying to be polite. And then he had confessed to me that he had never spoken to a brown person before. Like that, other than the man at the gas station, he said. That's the only brown person he had ever spoken to before. And that's not saying anything to the town of Barney. It's just that, like, that's, like, out in the middle of nowhere. And when you're out in the middle of nowhere, like, holy shit, dude.
That's what they, like, I never understood. I don't understand how people, like, completely miss that interaction because we are everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially in the South, too, man. Like, I lived in Jersey for probably close to 4 years before coming back down. And, like, Jersey's a very segregated area. Like, there's towns where it's just like, oh, no, you're white. You don't go to this town after dark. And it's like, well, why not? They're like, well, the cops will pick you up. Because they know you're not supposed to be in that town. And the only reason you're there is because you're doing shady shit. I'm like, that's fucking odd. Like,
that's horrifying to think about.
Yeah, but because, like, in the South, like, everything in the 20th century got forcibly integrated. you know. But like in these big metropolitan areas and outside the South, like they're still somewhat segregated, and that's like, I don't. You ever seen like was it Dredd? Or Judge Dredd, you know, where like the supermax cities where they just sort of gather all the people that live in the outskirts and just put them into these like segregated communities in these super cities. Like that's what like in Jersey it looked like, except
Jesus.
like 100 years before it gets to that point. But like down here, like in like Valdosta, I mean shit. Like I mean, white people aren't even really the majority in Valdosta. You know, I mean, it's mostly a black city for the most part.
There are a lot of places like that where it surprises me that people can still be so rigid.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a guy like right down the road that lives like right down the road from you. You guys have lived together your entire life, but you just don't speak. Strictly on like some color shit.
Right.
Like it blows my mind to think about.
How do you think that, I guess like counterculture then in like the South has become so prosperous? Like, because I mean, like intellectualism and individuality, like we were talking before we got rolling. Like Georgia's now a purple state, like which is really fucking cool to think about. You know?
I think what it is that like Southern parents, they push like all of us kids, like when we were really young, like read books. But there's information in that shit. I'm sorry, like that's literally what it comes down to. It's just I feel like a lot of segregation and hate and things like that just come from a place of like either misinformation or miseducation or
indoctrination.
Yeah, like, well, this is how we felt, so this is how you should feel. And I feel like that a lot of the younger generation now, they're just like they're all friends with it. Like we're all friends. Like I don't think I've ever met like my first like true racist incidents or whatever. They were all just older people. Then like I was in whatever you would call gifted classes were, and like for us because you know that like education's different every fucking where.
Right.
And like it was like there was only a couple of black kids, but like everyone was normal. We were just like reading books and like doing stuff. It wasn't ever like race was only ever brought up in February.
That's one thing that always irked me about like being in the like spent most of my childhood south of the Mason-Dixon line, and like when I got to Catholic school, I always made friends with like the oddballs and the token black kid and the token foreign exchange student because I was an oddball as well, you know. And then like I get older and like the only time you learn about American history if it's through African descent is 1 month out of the year, and it's like that's kind of preposterous because we should just be teaching history. Like, and I understand like back in the day, like we needed something to like have in law to be like, hey, you got to teach the full.
Yeah, like please talk about this.
Yeah,
like, let's not just pretend that this isn't like another issue that we're still dealing with.
Right, but I like now that it's 60 years later, I don't think that having it be like some like Black History Month as February is true American history. Why don't we just like widen the scope of that a little bit more and like thoroughly educate our kids about how diverse the culture is in America?
Because like there is nothing that we enjoy today that we can attribute to just one group of people.
No.
Like, at all. Like you could say, oh well, rock music came from black people. Well, no. Like music started way before rock music. Like we can keep going backwards, and we're going to keep seeing that it's a different group of people the further back we go. And like it's the same with like scientific discovery. Like yes, there are black people that we can attribute to like plenty of things that we love, but like where did they get their education from? Where like who put their foot in the door? Like it's more than just one race, the other did this, that, or the other. And it's more than just one race can do this now or can continue to push things forward. Like progress is more than just color.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of it also has to do with, well, just education in general is parental responsibility. Because if we know an educational system is broken, which it has been for the longest time, we know that they're not learning everything.
We see American education seems to be top notch. Since we let the government take over, like instilling values in our children. It's been going great.
I don't know, man. I use the Pythagorean theorem like every day.
But if families like let's just say just the February in Black History Month,
right?
The reason, just for instance speaking, white kids don't necessarily know about X, Y, and Z in Black history is because either books don't cover it or their parents won't tell them. I know, like, one of the first 5 to 10 millionaires in America were a family of black people just because they were really good at what they did back in the 1700s. Like, yeah. How many people know that? How many black or white people know that? It's just not common. Yeah, it's just not common knowledge. Yeah, they were really smart. They educated themselves. They ran shit in the 1700s. And what did they do? Just like true culture, they got their friends in on their business and made more black millionaires. Like, that's what they did.
That's why you look at Black Wall Street.
Yeah,
that happened in Tulsa in the Greenwood community, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you know, about 100 years ago, and like these were folks that, which it's so botched up that republicanism has become controlled by the religious right and the GOP, as opposed to like a republic of individual communities where your values ripple out and you don't have authority having their values ripple in. So these cats in Tulsa had found out a way to essentially start their own banking system, like running like out of the Greenwood community. You know, they weren't in debt to the white bankers that wouldn't give them loans in the city. Like they found a way to have prosperity autonomously. And what happened? Well, the local white supremacists didn't like it too much, so they got authoritarian power in the government, and then got the National Guard to come in and murder.
True to form.
Yeah.
Like don't like it, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
True to form.
Yeah. But no, like I agree with you. Like, if you don't, it all starts with family, right? Like, and as cheesy as it is, and like as I've talked about on this show before, as much as I hate the notion of going, you good dogs.
I fucking love cats so much. Awesome. I think he got it though. He was chasing a fly and he was up there for a while. And I think he got it, but I think that the success went to his head. Yeah, he got it.
Good boy. He hunts lizards too. He's good at that.
Mine are afraid of all things.
Really?
My cats are terrified of most things. Like, they don't, like, one of them understands dogs and is like, all right, as long as I don't like move too crazy, they won't bother me. My other one is just hides on the top of the fridge and looks down at everyone.
I like cats just because they're pretty autonomous. They're low maintenance, and
also that, like, I love that mine, like, I can leave them, like, and go to work all day and come back and they're like basically in the same spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm gone for like more than a day, I can tell my cat misses me. But if I'm just gone for the day, he don't give a fuck. It's good to go. But yeah, with family values, like the religious right, like they're correct about like some of the stuff they talk about, where it's like, it all starts at home. You got to do it. Which I agree with that, but I think it needs to be. I'm so optimistic about the future, but not if we can't have conversations about like certain things. And I see now like AOC on Twitter talking about, I want names of people that are like supporting Trump or encouraging him to win. I'm like, yo, that's some fucking Nazi shit.
That's
fucked.
A fucking witch hunt. Like, it doesn't help going either way.
No, sensible people want to make the world a better place. You disagree about how to get there, and like said earlier, you know, it's choose your amputee to drive the car off the cliff, you know. But like, the main thing I want from all this is for just like us to be happy again, and like
100%.
Like as a country, I liked
the parts where we could actually talk about like more than just the president himself type shit. Because like back when I was a kid, like we clowned Bush or whatever, but it was never Bush that we were just talking about. It was the administration. It was what was going through, what was happening.
Right.
And then it got harder when Obama became president because unfortunately, it was some color shit. Unfortunately. And like my mom tells me, and like it took me a long time to understand that like Obama really didn't do anything for the black community so much as he showed us that like if you work hard enough you can fucking do it.
Right.
And like that's what my mom has been like trying to instill in me to take from that. And like now we have this character that's just so about self that it's terrifying. And it's like we can't talk about anything but what he's doing right now.
Right. Yeah, the news isn't even news anymore. It's reality shows based around how outraged or proud you should be at the president. Like, I don't like that shit, man. Like,
or ploys for ratings.
Yeah, like that's all it is. And like they're having a fucking masturbatory field day with this election crisis and this COVID crisis.
CNN's about to rake it in, dude. Oh my god.
What I hope they do this search and they find nothing funny going on in Philadelphia and nothing funny going on in Nevada, and it can just be like, okay, cool, you lost, you barely lost, but
it was close, but people turned out. Like, it's crazy to hear that like more people voted this time around than ever before.
Yeah.
And like I to know that I have friends who have voted for the first time. I voted for the very first time in this election, and like whether we have won or lost, like, well, I can't say we because. Whether like whatever side won or whatever, like I've never felt so jazzed to have like taken part in something.
Yeah.
I've never been so jazzed as to not take part in something.
Me and I had this discussion the other day.
Let me just clear the air here. I have so many people mad at me that I didn't vote.
Who cares, man?
But
I don't give a shit who you vote for or you.
I told him and I told my dad, which is heavily Republican. I have so many friends that are heavily Democratic. Like, I don't care. I said, leave this to the people that actually care. I don't care about either one of them. I said, I don't honestly want either one of them, so I'm going to leave this election to the people that actually care about it. I'm not voting. I'm just going to trust whoever wins. I'm going to trust the community that actually cares about these two people because I don't.
Right.
And that's it. And I've never been so free in my freaking life, man. I just hope that, quote unquote, like he said, whichever side wins, finds themselves proud when the office is taken.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen, is what worries me, is I think that it's going to get worse. I don't want it to get worse by any means, but the president is a narcissist, and for all of his good things that he has brought to America that they don't talk about, the culture war is really alarming, and I understand like the fervor that his side of the aisle, that the Trump devotion syndrome, that is just like they will not accept it if they think that there has been election meddling. And from what I see, the only thing I see convincing is the Michigan data, where is this software?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Dominion and Hammer or something like that, where if 6,000 votes that were for Trump flipped to Biden. And they have 47 other counties in the state that use this software. That's alarming. We need to have some sort of recount there to make sure that wasn't widespread. I don't give a fuck who wins. I care about people.
As long as it's done fair and right.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what the actual results are, because
Did you guys see, though, on something tangible that somebody did care about the election? There was a proposed amendment.
Yes!
The amendment removes sovereign immunity from the government. So now, we as individuals in the state of Georgia have the right to sue the local government and the state government for violating our constitutional rights.
Holy shit.
That's the thing I was excited about. It passed. God bless America. I don't give a fuck who you voted for, Biden or Trump or Jorgensen or write-in candidate. Don't care. That is what I was there to make sure I pledged my vote for. And I am happy about that. So again, to your point, Gavin, is that if you're gonna vote have a reason why you're voting. Don't just have it to be because your friends peer pressure you into something. If you have a reason why, then vote for it. I was sitting down with someone recently who was a Marxist, and I'm not a fan of Marxism. I think it's a poisonous ideology, and that I think authoritarians completely rape countries of whenever it's set in as government. Like, you look at the 20th century and you just see all the genocide that came from like ideas of nation states becoming communistic, and boom, then you just have famine and pestilence and all the things of biblical terrors. But I was sitting down with them and I was talking with them that I don't have problems with. There's a sect of it called anarcho-communism, where it's like the hippies on their commune out in the woods, just growing their food and fucking each other's wives and like all that shit. I don't care about that. Like that's how you want to run your community. It's awesome. The thing that makes America sweet, though, is that if you have the republic, is that you can get your friends together to say, like, we're going to buy this fucking land and we're going to build on this land and run it how we want to run it. And, like, you can have that grow over time, and that's the way you can have, like, your values, again, ripple out, like, into the world. I think that's something to shoot for. I think more people that sort of wake up to whatever it is that breaks them to be politically minded, like, that the future is not so grim and dark as I think it could be.
Things could always get worse, and we complained a lot when Obama was president, and then we saw things get worse because the divide stopped being political. Like, it's already hard to be political, like in everyday life, even though a lot of things are. But it stopped being about that. It just stopped being about, or it started being about like pure aggression. Like, just, I hate this person now, and now I can be vocal about it. Or I think that you're dumb, and now I can be vocal about it. And
then justifying it, like, because now everybody left of center is a fucking communist, and everybody right of center is a fucking bigot. You know what I mean? Like,
you can't say your ideas without immediately getting classified.
No, because it's a program, right? It's a social program they put in us as a way to. It's much easier to put everything into Boolean categories of, like, do you fall in this category or this category? And, like, that's because that's machine language, right? Ones and zeros. And, like, we're so not like that.
Only the Sith deal in absolutes.
It's true, though. Like everything with absolutism rings evil to me. Like, the only thing I find that is absolute is that I'm never going to know it all, and I'm going to die one day. You know?
Yeah, no, exactly.
And so I'm trying to, whenever I got my 30s, I guess, was trying to be more consciously minded, you know what I mean? And then 2016 happened when the game show host won. I was like, holy shit, anything can happen.
It became a lawless cowboy fucking wasteland.
I think it's growing pains, though, right? It's like America reached puberty. And, like,
we had a mix of emotions and hormones. Why is my voice changing?
My voice is the best voice. You never heard a voice even better. Somebody pointed out, though, the memes this election season are fire. Like,
it grows every year. It's my favorite fucking thing in the world. Like, holy shit. I love the generation that can't vote right now because they are doing the wildest shit on the internet. Oh my god. Like, I woke up this morning and, like, saw what's projected to happen or whatever, and then I immediately started going to, like, meme pages, and I was like, oh yes. It's like a treasure trove, and, like, there were a lot of meme pages that were, like, stoking the fire because I knew that, like, a lot of their followers were, like, blue or red or whatever, and so they would post the opposite respectively, and it's so funny to me. Oh my god, I fucking love it. I love how destructive the internet gets during these, like, big times or whatever, because in my head, like, I love to meme, and I love to share shit, and I love to, like, poke the bear a little, like, it's fun for me. But it's like, you get to take a break from how serious these things are and just laugh at it for a second.
Yeah.
Because they're like, look how crazy it is. Here it is in a cartoon.
Well, it's. I mean, if nothing else, you gotta have time to laugh in the middle of the apocalypse. Like
fuck. Like everyone needs a release for a sec. Like we've been holding our breath all year.
Yeah.
Oh, I love when elections come by because like I've been doing this since like the first Obama term. I was in high school. Of course, no way I was voting, but like adults were like full blown adults were having arguments with me, and I was sending like SpongeBob memes back. Like I don't care. And like that, like where I am politically now is like, and I use air quotes just because like I really try not to deal with any of that shit. But like,
well, with me, like, dude, I've got like friends that are leftists. I've got friends that are right wingers. I've got friends that are apolitical. I love them because they're individuals, and like especially like around here, man. Anytime you can find. It's really weird about like Valdosta area is like there's a lot of really unique and artistic and odd folk in Valdosta.
That's the thing I've loved since I've gotten here is that like I've met more people that like I wanted to get an understanding of or that I've gotten like huge understandings from since I've been here. Like I've only been here since basically right after I graduated out of high school. And then I've just been meeting people and meeting new people and meeting new energy and like, oh, that sounded super like spiritual and like let me pull my rocks out of my pocket real quick.
I saw this meme earlier today. It's got Marge Simpson just holding a bunch of geodes, just saying, "I just think they're neat." Like, she doesn't know what they mean or anything about it.
And that's like, but I love meeting those people because they always have like they always say some shit you're gonna think about later.
Yeah, man.
And I love that shit. And like because like my group of friends from back home or whatever, like we were like the modern day punks as best as we could fit. Like we listened to hardcore, we wore a lot of black, and we didn't listen very well.
Right.
And like that we were like politics didn't matter to us. We believed what our parents believed for the most part up until a certain point.
And then you're like, my parents are fucking wrong about everything.
I was like, everyone's crazy, and I'm crazy too, but it's okay because we're all crazy. Like, but like being here, like I didn't think that there was just going to be like this weird liberal utopia, just this weird bohemia in the middle of the South, in the middle of like the Bible Belt, and where people don't listen.
And in true liberal sense, where like everybody is just like live how you want to live, and vote how you want to vote.
Do what you got to do. Keep the bills paid. Like
yeah. I was talking to somebody. I was like, because they were like pointing out that not that they were disenfranchised with their vote, but they were like the president, who no matter who it is, my life is not changing very much because of it. Like it's just one place. And when they learn to sort of accept that and still be able to look at the nuance of politics, they said it got a lot better for them because then they were able to define their position based on what the argument is. So like around here, like I'd say probably 98% of people are like pro Second Amendment, and there's just a very small sliver that's like, well, we need to have some gun control. So it's not going to happen around here, So like, and I agree with the 98% where it's just like, nah. Like
like I say some really lippy shit, but like I love guns. Like I've been
they're beautiful.
One of my friends, like I would stay the night at his house just because his stepdad would always wake us up in the morning on the weekends, and he's like, we're gonna go shoot some shit real quick.
Fuck yeah.
And then just like all day he was like, shoot this, here's how you shoot it, here's where you should point it, like figure it out. And I love that shit.
I think 2020 sort of broke the straw over the camel's back for a lot of folks on that argument, because a lot of folks were like you don't need it, like you've got the cops or the cops can't do anything for you. And it's like, yeah, exactly, the cops can't do anything for you. What are you gonna do when the fucking mob shows up with torches and pitchforks?
Yeah, I was about to say, you're right, you don't need it until you do.
Yeah.
Well, my thing with the police is it's like
then it's the oh shit, now I get it.
In the meantime, it's like you have 15 minutes to figure out what's going on in a good neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, you have 15 minutes to sort your own issues out, because cops can't be everywhere all the time anyway.
No. Well, then you look at like some of these cities where like apparently the whole argument of law enforcement has just sort of gone out the window, and like 911 has been telling people, well, what do you want us to do? Like, sorry, good luck. It's like, dude, if that were my city, I'd be moving the fuck out as soon as I could, dude, and go anywhere.
Because it's like we need we hate the police for all the things that we see on the news, and like part of me understands like the unrest in it all because they do. So a lot of them do operate above the law,
Right.
but we still need someone to hold the law in place because like the person next door to you doesn't give a shit about how you feel most days. Like the things that you hold so near and dear, like they're shitting on those in their house. Like it doesn't matter.
I've never once, not once, Cole, gone to a neighbor and said, "Hey, how you doing today, man?"
Yeah, like
there's
how do
always
you feel?
like that's not the motivator. It's always been like news or like, hey, there's a branch down. You need help?
Yeah, like in your neighborhood, it's everyday shit.
Yeah.
Like it's not what divides you, what you hold deep in your heart and that you can't let go of, or like that person that wronged you in high school or whatever the fuck it is. Like
they don't care about your existential dilemma today.
yeah, like you're having a breakdown, they're making toast. It doesn't matter. So it's like you have to be able to handle enough of your own homestead nowadays, realistically.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I don't like. I understand where there needs to be reform. I do not think we should abolish police. I do not think we should abolish the parts of this infrastructure.
You can smoke in here if you want.
But like I do believe in reform, but I also feel like fuck, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself anyway.
Well, I mean, my stance on it is I think we should have law enforcement, right? But I don't think we should police people.
Yes.
No, I 100% agree because that means people are getting paid, and
Yeah, it's a
I'm
racketeering
not even
scam.
going to bring up this argument yet. But like, people say they don't get paid enough, but I'm not even going to talk about that. Like,
Dude, you guys can talk about whatever the fuck you want on my show.
I just mean, who gives a shit about that question? But I mean, like, that just means the police's job is assuming the worst of people, not understanding that this is America where you're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
That's where 90% of police brutality, police problems occur.
The fuck shit
you
we
are
see on
guilty.
TV.
Yeah.
Oh, you had a knife, so I'm going to put 9 bullets in you. Like,
Yeah.
like that's never okay. Or
Well, why
I mean,
the
I
hell
have
they're
that
not
friend.
Or
they're not
anything
training
like that.
people and you
they're
like this
they're
is
training people. I was
Well,
a
and
correctional
de-escalation and
I was-
de-escalation and things like
well, I
that.
mean, around here, I've only
they
noticed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That I mean, like, because I was a correctional officer for approximately 6 months to a year. I quit that as soon as I freaking could. But but we got
couldn't do it.
basically the same training that the police did, or that the police do. It's all law enforcement type crap, and you are 100% trained how to survive a knife fight. So pulling out that gun unless you absolutely have to is never okay. And the fact that blue covers blue is stupid because
I don't
you are
like
trained.
that.
You are trained how to survive. Number 2, you are trained when you can and when you cannot pull out that gun. So ignorance is not part of the thing. You're freaking guilty.
Yeah.
Like, period. You're trained how to survive that. You're trained, like, you see this stupid crap where someone tries to grab the police's gun, and that's when they fight over the gun, and then he shoots them. No, they are 100% trained how to not let someone take that gun off you, and what to do if they do. The things they train you to do is endless. Like, period. Hand-to-hand combat training for law enforcement is through the roof. Like,
Do you think? Well,
like you learn.
do you think that's how it is in Georgia, but maybe not how it is elsewhere? Because
I mean,
other
it
than
totally
those,
could be different elsewhere. I did my training for Florida. I know Georgia gets the same, if not better, training because
probably
Georgia
more tax money
is-
than Florida for
well,
law
our
enforcement.
prisons, for whatever reason, because I was a correctional officer, our prisons are for whatever reason more dangerous than Florida. So they get way more training here. Like, more people, more correctional officers have been stabbed or died in Valdosta than in Florida.
See, I've heard that though.
Valdosta is a dangerous place, prison wise. But
yes, thank you for making me feel safe. At
but
home.
I mean, you're not in the prison and you're not going to work in there, so it's alright.
You're fucking
But I
right,
just
dude.
mean like they're trained, so it's not even dumb. And just to say that they don't get paid enough, like, who gives a crap about that? They signed up for that job. They should know that. Like, if you want more money or if you want X, Y, and Z, then just don't freaking work there. Like, I don't get paid enough to do that. Go home.
Right.
My thing
Quit.
with that, with like police, like my new, like relatively newish belief is like, in the same way, someone's gonna end up with that job at McDonald's. Someone's gonna end up a cop. Like, there are people who just got that job. There were people, like, there are some people who aspire and they work their whole life for it and they, like, push and they do school and they go to, like, for law enforcement and all that. But there is probably just, like, Billy Bob out somewhere fucking off and he's like, you know what, I do need a job. Fuck it, I'll be a cop. Like,
Especially the people with either God complexes or people that feel like other people have to owe them something. Like, there's not... Dude, I know
you
people...
have to respect me now.
I know people that I went to school with, and they had that same complex in school, and then I saw them as a police officer, and I was like, okay, nope, I'm not trusting you for a single second. Like, it's just not happening.
He doesn't.
I think that on I think there should be some sort of like psych review or something. You know what I mean?
They're supposed to have them, and I'm pretty sure they're supposed to have them annually. But blue covers blue.
Right. Well, I mean, to my point is that, like, you're supposed to have the same whenever you go to a doctor to apply for, like, controlled substance. So back whenever I was using amphetamines all the time, like, one day I got health insurance through my work, and I was like, cool, I don't have to go see a plug anymore. I can do it legit. And so I went to the doctor, and, like, I talked to beforehand to a couple of folks that I was like, so what do I need to say? And they're just like, well, they're going to ask you this, and you're going to have to fill this out. I'm like, all right. So I just went there, and I just said what my friends told me, just say this, and the doctor was like, okay, speed, there you go.
No, that is a good point. 90% of the time when someone receives a psych eval, you are kind of trained how to get through a psych eval.
Yeah.
Military side, too. Like, because I'm in the Navy Reserves, and I don't know people who have had to have a psych eval or anything like that, but I definitely know that, like, they will, here's how it's going to go, here's some of the questions they're going to ask, blah, 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 blah. Like, I think that should be like a spur-on-the-moment sit-down, oh, shit,
Yeah,
psych
like you're
eval.
filling out paperwork
yeah.
and they're like, hey, so.
Yeah, like like these
you'll
decks.
see the true nature of a person. Like
Yeah. So like these podcast decks that you're so kind to bring me. So like, if they have like a stack of this where it's kind of like the IQ test, you take 100 random questions out of a database of like something like 10,000.
Holy shit!
And like that's how you make an IQ test. So I imagine like for something like psych evals, you feasibly anyway should be able to do something similar where they don't know specifically what questions you're going to ask them. Whenever I was going to school for audio, one final we had was so fucking stupid, but nonetheless, they prepped us for 100 questions of tasks of something to do in a studio, and then only asked 10 of them, and that was like 50% of our grade was 10 random questions.
nice.
And even like stuff would be like, well, there's buzz coming through here. Oh, looks like you didn't forcibly push this in all the way. -10. It's like -10. Oh my god, dude.
The weight.
I got a 60 on it. I thought I was gonna fucking fail out of school. I think I passed that class with like a 71 or something. But I mean, the point being, I don't think we should abolish police. I don't think we should abolish prisons. I think we should reform it all. I think our criminal justice system is broken.
Like it's crazy to think that people, like, we're relying on systems that were built long before us, and we're still riding on those. Like, oh, this definitely can't break, even though like the way we receive information has exponentially evolved, and like the way that we get news and the way that like information gets to us is way different. But the system that we set up, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like the justice system, I don't think that it's necessarily even broken. I just think it's outdated.
I think that for the concept of prisoners, we should only be putting violent people in a fucking cage, man. And I'm sorry, but I don't find things that are considered white-collar crimes like drug offenses or even somebody that did something like money laundering should be in the same place with folks that are like serial rapists and pedophiles and murderers and like.
I have seen with my own eyes someone in prison for, let's just say, tax evasion become an extremely aggressive murderer inside of a prison? Because that's your new culture. You're in prison for 5-6 years around all these deadly people,
Right.
and you're just here for tax evasion. You have a status to uphold because you don't want to look like the weak guy in your cell or the weak guy in your wing.
Right.
You don't want to do it. You make friends, you talk, you X, Y, and Z,
You socialize.
and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
your life's in danger. Here's the shank. Do your business.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I just mean, like, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I have seen someone for something that just Joe Schmo that didn't want to give the government their fair share.
Right.
Boom, pop a dude, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, no.
My thing is like, I saw this. I can't remember if it was where it was, but it was like this like proposition where it was like, instead of prisons like just being just straight up a box that you put people in until you think that they've done enough.
Yeah.
And that like if it's a white collar crime, non-violent crime, stuff like that, it should just be rehab basically.
Yeah.
It's like, here's what you did wrong, here's how you fix it, like let's get you back into like real life. You've probably been away for a while. But no, it's just you finish your stint and then they just dump you back out into the world, and like if you have like the big F word felon on your back or some shit like that.
Yeah. Now you can't vote. You can't buy a gun.
You can't get a job in most places.
Right.
Like,
and you're supposed to have served your time. Like, that's what I don't understand, is that like...
but now you're crippled forever.
Yeah.
Those are the things that blow my mind, because like then you wonder why like people become repeat offenders. Like, well, that's all you give them when they get reintroduced.
That's all they know now.
Well, you
And
take their
that's
options and you
that's
limit
their-
it down to like a third of what a non-felon would have as far as
Like,
options.
congratulations, now you can work in like fast food and construction.
Yeah, you can't get elected to office though because you're a felon. You know,
So all of the
now you
things that
can't
you-
even change the system that you experienced firsthand
Exactly,
to
right.
be too many cogs in the machine. Like, we want the machine to be as minimal and efficient as possible, right?
There was a joke I saw, and it was like your best chance getting out of prison is to write a book before you get out.
Oh, I would agree 100%.
Because at least people know that you are a thinking, breathing individual, and like here are your raw experiences in this this bullshit.
Yeah, be that
system.
guy. Bring me some paper. Bring me a pencil.
Yeah, like
I can see that. That makes a lot of sense.
like your best hope out is to write a book, because then at least people will take you seriously when you get out. And those are the kind of things that scare like the shit out of me, because like I got arrested for the first time in my life last year, and it was for some dumb shit having to do with like a place that I've lived, and like the cop tried to poke and prod me into like being this super violent dude, which I'm just not. I'm just not. I don't have the energy. Like my brain doesn't go to those places first.
Right.
And like I was explaining to him, like, dude, like I'm getting out tonight. Like everything's cool. Like you don't have to keep doing this. I'm not going to like do your dance. And for like I used my first offenders, thing or whatever to like basically this just didn't happen.
Right.
Because it was some small shit. I don't expect to go back to jail. What even happened was a stupid circumstance. But like the way that they act and the way that they treat you until they realize you're getting out and like things are cool, or like until they realize you're a first offender or whatever, like the way that they treat people is real fucking weird. Because like you're basically an animal the minute they pick you up.
Well, your property, according to the what was it, the 14th Amendment? So like the one that essentially says people are not property has something on it tagged at the end that says unless serving like punishment for a crime. I'm butchering the amendment, but
Yeah.
you have to think about like how authoritarianism operates, and it finds the weakest point in the vulnerability of a system, and it'll exploit it over and over and over again. So with like law enforcement, folks that get off on that like sadistic, dehumanizing power that accompanies with being an authority can pervert it and have perverted it for so long. And like you talk about this like the blue on blue or blue backs blue or whatnot. I mean, it's a poisonous way to look at the world, and I think you're kind of seeing a lot of this cognitive dissonance slowly but surely dissipate in Louisville, where Breonna Taylor was shot by those cops. The mayor was given a press conference to the police shortly thereafter, I think before the most recent decision came down, and all but like 5 of the entire city squad got up and exited the room because of how the mayor handled the 3 cops and Breonna Taylor situation.
When all of the police brutality shit was going on, and like you watch cops like, well, if you're saying fuck him, well then fuck you, and like type shit. Like,
Yeah.
There's no reason for people, like the only people who should be afraid of cops are criminals. But like now we're all like, you can just go outside and you're like, Like my mom, during all that, my mom's like, be careful going outside. Which is fucking ridiculous. I've been here for years. Like, I have friends here. I have basically family here. Why should I be afraid to go outside?
Right.
Oh, because they never know what could happen. And I dress in a lot of black, so of course I've been like looked at and profiled and shit. Like I've been in a car full of like me and like my white friends, and we get like we were hanging out at a gas station waiting to get like the directions to a party. And they call the cops on us because we were sitting there too long, so we were loitering. Even though we went to the store, we bought stuff, we were just sitting waiting.
Right.
And the cops pull up or whatever. I'm the only guy who gets searched.
Surely you don't think it had something to do with the way you look, do you?
No, I actually think it was the company that. No, it's 100% was like. And like, meanwhile, my friends are sitting there watching me get like very thoroughly searched.
Right.
Like basically strip me naked in public type shit. And here's all that it was. You know the little machines in gas station bathrooms where you get like a sex toy or a condom and this shit?
That's where I get all of my sex toys.
So we were like, well, I've got a quarter, and like we all did it and spun it or whatever, and then like one of us got like a dental dam and it came in a little bag. And we just like threw the bag on the ground and it was next to the car. And they were like, well, we thought you kids had drugs. And we were like, you know where they are? Like, it was ridiculous. And then, like, even the cops afterwards, they're like, well, we just hope that you guys would be smart and do those kind of things at home. And, like, we weren't doing them at all. And not even like, because I was, like...
The only one searched.
I was the only one searched, but I was also more of the straight arrow just because of how my mom was.
Right.
Because, like, not to judge any of my friends' parents, but they were more like friends than parents a lot of the time. But my mom was like, I'm not your white friend's parents. I'll beat your fucking ass. And she, like, that was her favorite quote is, I'm not your friend's parents. I don't give a shit. And, like, so, like, I got into, like, my fair share of trouble as a kid or whatever, but it was never anything super duper serious. And I didn't even really start, like, smoking weed or doing anything until... basically right before I graduated high school at all, because I was like, I'm an adult now, I can make those decisions for myself.
That's right about how I was. Like, senior year, I had weed and alcohol and pussy for the first time, and I was like, this is pretty enjoyable. But,
how do I make my whole life about this for a little while?
But I mean, I was a pretty like sheltered kid. You know, like my dad wasn't about it. There was a basketball trip I had in middle school. I was 14, and we went to Savannah. And everybody, the whole team and the cheerleaders, they've all got hotel rooms and whatnot. And my friend Wilfredo and I, he's from Mexico. The girls asked the two of us to come, and nobody else to come to their room. So I was like, wow, like
I've done it.
Like, because like we were odd. Like, he played a little guitar, I played guitar. You know, like we listened to like music. He was the token foreign exchange student. You know what I mean? And like none of the other dudes got the invite. And like just as like stuff started getting like near physical. Like, you know, like, oh, playful touching and whatnot. There's a knock at the door.
Oof.
It's my father.
What the fuck?
I don't know how he found me, but he found me. He found me in this random, like, room. And he was like Wilfredo, he took off through the sliding glass door because they were on the ground floor. And I was just like, oh shit, I'm not fast. What do I do?
That's when you find out if you're either an athlete or a negotiator.
I was whatever the athlete category was. I definitely was not that. Long distance runner, maybe. I'll get there eventually. But so I go out there, and my dad's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." Why? He's like, "You're thinking with your pecker. I know what you're doing. Like, you need to be back in the room 10 minutes." I'm like, "Fuck, all right." I go back in. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to bed." I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah, of course." Like, old man Winter just scared the shit out of everybody. But no, and it goes back to I think talking about earlier, like family values. It's like, you can instill family values without, using like threat of hell or damnation.
You don't have to break your kids to raise them.
No. Though I definitely got beat as a kid, but in hindsight, I deserved a fair amount of those ass whoopings.
I was about to say, everything I got, I earned. I know that. I talk to my mom now because like me and her now we're like more friends than parent, but like we could talk about like real shit about life. And like she always was pushing me. She never was just beating me to like break me. Like that was never her thing. And like I recognize now that a lot of the ways, like a lot of things she was saying, like holy shit, you're right. Fuck, you're right. The real world is bullshit, and you're right.
To your point with your white friends' parents and whatnot, there were definitely a stark difference between what I saw, like how my black friends in high school, like how their homes were, and how the white homes were, and like family was like a lot more of like a tight knit unit in like my friends that lived in the hood in Lakeland than the ones that lived like out in the country. Like,
well, my mom
I saw a lot more broken white homes that I would go to at friends' houses than I would broken black homes. All of them were sad nonetheless, but I don't know. I think some of them were just so like lax and lackadaisical with like how they raised their kids, where they were like living vicariously through their children. Like, so they were like, I want my kid to be the coolest kid. I want my kid to be the toughest kid and whatnot, So like I'd see like how some dads would treat their sons, where it's like you're pretty much just abusing your son, like, and making him feel inadequate. Like
it's either that or it's like they encouraged them to do more. Do bad shit. Like I've had like my friends who like their dads were like when they went off to college, they just said to them, "Why would you bring sand to the beach?" So like they'd already be in relationships, and they're like, "Why would you go ahead and date this girl? Like go out and fuck everything that moves."
Yeah. And
I'm like, that's super destructive still, because you teach them that that's the only goal.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. I know my dad had that talk with me, but my dad had a previous marriage before he met my mom that didn't work out, and I think his way was that he didn't want a, how would you say, generational curse or whatnot. More or less telling me, I guess, like learn how to dodge a bullet. Whenever you meet like a red flag, like learn from it. Not the when I had a girlfriend in high school, he never talked to me like that. Like hey man, like don't settle down now. Like go out there and no. Like I said, I was a pretty good kid. I had a big mouth on me, and I got my ass whooped a fair amount, but. I got my ass whooped by an adult a couple times as a little boy, so I always told myself that it's not going to hurt more than that. Like, being an adult and another adult beating my ass, it can't be worse than that. So I've never really cared too much about if my mouth gets me in trouble or not, because I like to talk with other folks that have ideas,
Yeah, like, you should be able to speak your mind and not really have to worry about things. But I also feel like being an adult is saying something and being prepared for someone to try and beat your ass about it. Like, right. That's how the adult world just kind of operates. Mm-hmm. Like, if you say it and you mean it, then you're prepared to stand up for it either way.
Well, you should be. You should have an idea, like, as far as why you're saying something, right? So, like, you can... I think the primary way to beat a bad idea is with a better idea. So...
Definitely.
But if the idea that somebody is proposing is threatening violence or insinuating violence onto me, well, I'm not gonna be a bitch about it. You know what I mean? But I've been in situations at bars and shit before, man. Like I don't even like going to bars, but sometimes I get dragged there, or if there's music, I'll go. But I have like these dudes that like they're out there to prove to somebody that like they got the biggest dick. They got the hardest muscle. They got the biggest fist.
I got the chutzpah.
They got that chutzpah, you know? It takes a lot of chutzpah to think you can come up in my bar and try to wear that face and that beard and these tattoos up in here. But, like, I would have that, like, because, like I look like a scary dude to a stranger, you know? So, and then they'll hear me talk, and I'll be very calm about it, and then they're like, he's not getting agitated. I don't know what's up with him, but I'm going to back up a little bit.
That's what I love about, like where I am in life now. I can navigate most things because, like, most people they immediately make an assumption based on my appearance. Everywhere. But I love when people get to hear me speak for the first time and I see, like, the unsureness in their face.
Do you ever get the... What's the cliche that like, oh, you're so well spoken?
Yeah, like you're so articulate. I got that all the time growing up, and I didn't understand it. And at first I was like, I don't get it, and then I was like, oh hell yeah, I am. And then now I'm like, like I'm not dancing this jig for you. This is just how I am, unfortunately.
the how would you say it? The evolution of the token black. You know what I mean? Like, and how from a white person's perspective of seeing like how white racists will deal with it. And just to clarify, there's a big difference between, I would say, like somebody like me who's like a provocateur and arguably a comedian running a podcast, like, than with somebody that actually harbors like ideals of like white savior complex, or that even now it's like white supremacy, but whites are evil, but you should still acknowledge white supremacy, which it kind of just sounds like white supremacists selling their ideology in a backhanded way. You know what I mean? Like,
you should fear us.
Like, but it's like I don't know. It's fucking stupid either which way. But that one I think is the oh, he's so well spoken. Like when you even like try to point out to somebody that like you're being polite, but you're actually kind of being racist.
Dude,
nothing else judgmental.
That's why what I hate about customer service is like at my previous job, like I made a whole bunch of friends with like the older people because I used to work at Planet Fitness, and so I'd be there super early in the mornings when like the older people are getting up to like work out, and they would love to have conversation with me, and then someone finally said it, and I was like, I wondered when this day would come. Part of me is like, well, at least I communicate well enough for them to get it, but I started to think that people only were hearing, oh, he can speak, he can like articulate his ideas, not what the ideas actually even fucking are.
Right.
And so like then like even now in food service, people tip me just based on like having a conversation with me or whatever, and I'm like, thanks for the money. This is kind of fucked up.
Well, I mean, shit. If it's part of a work, I mean, exploit it. I say. You know,
I ride that shit like hard as hell. Like, thank you so much. Can I get you anything else? Would you like a copy of your receipt? Oh, thank you. Like, I ride that shit into the ground. But it's in the back of my head, I'm like, this feels an awful lot like dancing on the auction block sometimes.
It's kind of like girls that have, or even fellas that have OnlyFans. I'm like, I mean, shit. If you're making money, go for it. Like,
and I love that shit. Like, I love that, like, girls can take control of their finances using the fact that dudes are, like, easy to manipulate. Because, like, we are, like, the vast majority of us are so fucking visually led. It's so easy. Like, anytime a friend of mine's like, I'm like, dude, cash in. We're fucking dumb. Like, do it for me.
If you value it, do it.
Yeah, if you're using the tools that, if this is what you choose to believe in, that the Lord gave you, like, congratulations, you figured out how to cash in on something that...
It's finding a, even if it's not cashing in, right, it's finding some avenue that speaks to, like, the teenager in all of us, right? Like everybody still remembers, as an adult, like being a horny-ass teenager and just being like, fuck, man, look at her, she's just fucking damn, oh god, it's over. It's only 7 seconds. Oh, I gotta watch again. Fuck, man, look at her, golly. Like, it's
My
part
favorite
of this
thing-
dumb male complex that we have where it's just like, ooh, cleavage. And I just sort of like keep on, and maybe
Every dude window shops, unfortunately. Like, I hate to tell any woman, like, your dude window shops.
Yeah.
Even if it's only for a split second, he's gonna think about that for another split second. Like,
and maybe when he beats off in the bathroom later, but just to get that nut out, just
like
to get
you're
that
tired,
idea
so
out.
I'm not gonna do this to you. I'm doing this as a service to you.
But it is a interesting segue to that is the hand signs. It's coming from like the land of square up, like into hand signs as far as songwriting, whereas square up has this like triumphant sort of like overcoming like sensation, and then is it hand signs or hand signals?
Hand signs.
Hand signs. Okay. Fuck, I said it wrong.
No, you said it right, and I was like, but no, it's okay to check because people check all the time. Like,
Word.
they'll ask me again, like, what's the name of your band again? I'm like, it's cool, dude.
But it's like a part of a movie where like the tension is surmounting, and like it's like
Write this
Almost-
down. We're gonna use this later.
He's got it on audio.
True. I need the transcription of this. We're putting this on reviews.
but it's like a it harkens back to like a movie of like teenage romance of like at like the climactic scene, and it does a really good job of conveying a plethora of emotions, like even with from the most recent EP. I think the first track is "Let's Have a Seance."
Yeah.
So like from this feeling of just sort of like communal like gathering, like a seance, right?
Yeah.
And then going in later into what gives more feelings of longing and sort of not necessarily regret, but sort of like a almost like a bittersweet or melancholy feel.
I really like that. Like, I really like writing from like a complex place. If it kind of makes sense. Like, I can't write about just one emotion because no one feels just one emotion at a time.
Right.
And so writing like the confusion in myself, because like I've done a lot of growing from square up when it was just like, let's have as much fun as possible and let's make sure it's noisy,
Yeah.
to like let's talk about in here a little more, and like in here a little more, because like I've grown more and more aware of my emotions and myself, and I'm like trying to communicate that in the hopes that like everyone's felt like the weird confusion of like a bad relationship, that like it was so great and you remember the great points, but holy shit, like it's bad for you.
Oh yeah.
And like those are the things that I like to talk about, is the in between emotions.
So like when you're writing for hand signs, is the writing process always the same way as far as like, do you start with like a guitar riff, or is it you start with like an idea that you want to try to capture first? Like what's normally the process with it?
If for like most of the writing that we did before, it was, let's figure out what we sound like first. So let's get an idea. Like I stopped listening to what I normally do. I looked for all kinds of new music, because I'm like, well, if I keep listening to the same shit I was listening to when I was writing other stuff, it's gonna keep sounding the same. Mm-hmm. And so I started changing like what my everyday listens were, and like finding new things that I really liked. And now it's like this other part of my brain. Like there's always music going on in my head. Like I'm always hearing shit at work, at home, when I'm laying down trying to go to sleep, in the shower, everywhere. Like I'm always hearing shit. And then whenever I get home and I can sit at my desk and like figure it out, it's like when I'm trying to figure it all out, really. Because like none of our, well, very little of our music started with lyrics first. It all started with, I'm gonna play around with the guitar a little bit until I figure out how to get this here, and then it goes like our writing process really is like I like put together as much of an idea as I can, and then I send it to him and ask like what needs to be changed, And also like put your drums on it because I can't. I used to be a drummer. I'm not anymore. Like I do not do that shit anymore.
I can do the same Ringo Starr beat on all of your tracks.
Like if you want consistent, motherfucker, I got it.
Put the click on. I got this.
A little faster this time. We're right in here, and right in the pocket. But
how long are our songs? 30 seconds? 4 minutes. Ooh.
Shit.
Don't know if I got the time for that.
So you want to crash somewhere in there to break it up. Everything else, gotcha, right here. I can do the same thing, but on toms now. No, like it's like I send him a skeleton of the idea, and he like helps me flesh it out further. And then as far as like what we actually talk about, it's kind of like part of it is what I go through on like an everyday basis type thing. Like there are very few happy songs, but that's because I've now gotten to a place where I can write about shit that I've already gone through and like reached my whatever closure is for me.
Mm-hmm. I can totally relate with that as far as a songwriter level because it's really difficult for me to write happy songs. Like, I mean, I can, and even some of like after doing it for like close to like 10 years now, some of the happy songs are some of my favorite ones, but I feel like such a schmuck. Like whenever I write it, I'm just like, bro, I'm not normal. Like I'm happy, but like more in like a cynical like way.
I'm happy waiting for the sad again. When does the sad pull back up into the yard? I'm waiting on that car.
I'm just looking at the mushroom cloud on the horizon, just getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm trying to maximize as much happiness and fun and like good ideas and like spreading it out and making the world a better place in what little sliver of time I've got. So I don't really have time to think about happy songs, but like to cope with stuff like as a coping mechanism, like songwriting has always been like there for me, man. Like always.
We actually just wrote a song called Coping Mechanisms, and so like as soon as you said it, I was like,
oh yeah,
deep down on the inside. But like,
so are you guys gonna do like a full length like as well?
We have one that we have basically already like we're actually a lot farther ahead than that as far as like the material itself. Like I don't stop working on music. I don't stop. I can't.
No.
Like stopping for me is like the 2 days before, like all right, or the 2 days in between where I'm like, all right, I just finished that body of work. I don't have to write anything else. Well, what else can I do?
After I put out the most recent album, I took a week off, and then I was just like, I can't do this. Like I had one weekend where I was just like sort of basked in it. I was just sort of like I think I played video games that weekend and like ate a bunch of junk food, and then afterwards I was like, I need to get back to work, man. I had all these other song ideas that was just like, all right. Cool.
That's always what it is for me, is that like I started something in the middle of writing a whole bunch of stuff, and then like in the break I'm like, well, what can I do with that? Mm-hmm. And it's always, it's been thinking ahead. Like we are, on our end, the full length is already done. Like we've already finished it. We're just basically waiting for things to come back.
Awesome. This would be some good promo then.
Yeah, like he and I were talking about it, and he was like we've done a lot this year as far as music. Like we wrote the very first EP, and then we were like the stay at home and place, quarantine, whatever that shit. All that happened.
I call it bullshit.
Basically, like the really long nap happened. And so we were like, well, let's do something in the fucking meantime. And so we were like, well, let's make another goal for ourselves. And so we were like, well, now we can write another EP in the meantime. And then we like feng shuied it around because not all the tracks from the first one were going to be on the first one. We just kind of moved some things around by like what felt right. Mm-hmm. And so then as we were finishing up the second EP, we were like, well, we already have like X amount of song ideas for the next thing. And then I wrote the first single for the full length, and he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, because like staying at home was the most fun for me because I explored music way more than I ever did like on a working schedule.
Right.
Because it was literally like, wake up, my guitar's already right there. Let's just fiddle the fuck around until we figure something out. Mm-hmm. And that's like a lot of what it is nowadays for me. But the full length, I tried to put it in a more take things to a more positive place, but then the very first song that I wrote was like super fucking sad. The last song I wrote, Coping Mechanisms, I was just like, man, you are such a sad fucking person. And I messaged my friends and I was like, why am I a sad bitch all the time? Why aren't you guys helping me? Because right now, it's hard to say, but it's like hard to admit, but it's just the truth. All the happy songs right now are just love songs, because I'm in the first happy romantic situation in a while where it's like, this isn't like, I don't see any red flags yet. It's kind of good for me.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
And like, that's been really cool. And the hard thing with her is explaining to her like all the old super angsty, super sad, like, I fucking hate you, but call me, like, songs. Like those are written because like I needed to finally get those emotions out, because
yeah,
in between Square Up and Where Hand Size Started, I was like, fuck music altogether. But that was just on some internal conflict shit, unfortunately. Like,
I'll go through it, man.
It was everyone had different goals, and so like mine was like, let's keep going, let's keep pushing, let's be active, let's do this. And some people were like, let's make this make money. Some people were like, let's make this make fame. And I was just like, I just want to keep doing this forever.
Yeah, I would rather, kind of same goal with the podcast as well as music. I just want to build a chronology, a discography. I want to have all this stuff to at least, like, I personally believe in an afterlife and God, but I have to earn my way out of the matrix, right? Otherwise, I'm either going to level down, which, Lord, I don't want that, or I'm just going to come back here, which I don't want that either. I want to transcend wherever I've been in mushroom trips and DMT realm. Like, I want to, like,
I want to linger there.
Yeah. I think there's something to that about living positively. So what I don't want to do is, like, there's something with being a songwriter, man, and about being a musician. Like, there's creative genius with it, and like, it's one reason why I argue about myself being an idiot genius. The idiot part is because I'm stupid. I'm still learning. No matter how smart I sound, I'm still an idiot. But the genius part of it, like, a genius is somebody who has an idea that nobody else has thought of yet. And like the artists and the creatives, like, we're able to tap into the ether itself and pull these ideas out and turn them into something.
So you can have more space.
Turn them into
Taking cross your legs.
You're good.
turn it into
I'm never
something tangible.
when I'm sitting up.
Oh, I know.
But if, like, turning something intangible into, like, something tangible, and, like, there's something to that. And to your point about the coping mechanism observation, and about how having to explain to loved ones about, like, writing songs and what you're trying to do, it's like these are parts of me and parts of something that are bigger than me, and
this is a snapshot. Like, each song is like a snapshot of like the max of those, like, whatever emotions you were feeling at that moment. That's what I always try to, like, communicate. Mm-hmm. My mom was worried initially when she heard the first couple songs. She's like, do you really want to be that vulnerable all the time? And I'm like, well, the thing is like, that's not necessarily what I'm going through right now. It's something that everyone has gone through.
Right.
And so, like, the super duper sad songs or whatever, I just say that they're sad because, like, the common person is not going to want to hear, like, fucking name any of them. Like, no one's going to be, like, driving around town and be like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. I feel like I should let my windows down and let the air blow through. Like, no, like, you're gonna be like, fuck, I'm gonna drive off a fucking bridge right now. I need to call her. Like, whoever that is, like, the person is that comes into your head when you hear it. Like,
yeah, like I said, like, it's that climactic moment in like a great romance tale where it's just like the guy's been thinking, and he's like I've got to see Tiff.
I always try to write the right before the airport moment.
Rad.
Right before it, where, like, you're going, like, you're, like, weighing in yourself, like, wow, I really made this decision. How do I fix it? What do I need to fix it?
That adds to my argument of creatives being geniuses, because that's a very good way of describing a mood set from those two hand sign EPs. More so the more recent one than the first one, but it's the scene in the movie before he stops her at the airport. It's like, Janine, wait!
Yeah, like, I'm always like, I want to be like mine is like the right before you're running down the airport. It's It's the sitting in the hotel room or whatever. It's the like shots of the city and all that. Like,
yeah, a good like you do a good job at writing montage moments. You know what I mean? Like the music, and I'm deducing that did Lee do the engineering on it or?
Actually, no. So with the last two things that we put out, it was literally I recorded it all at home, and then we sent it to a guy that he used to play in a band with, and that he's really good friends with, and that I've become really good friends with. You know Tyler Tomlinson he used to play in Beware, and then
he swapped to country, and then he played with Cole Taylor, and then moved up to Nashville, and then he got his Nashville country musician career started up there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
Well, he's from around here.
I may have met him.
Do you know the country artist Morgan Wallen?
Personally, no. But no.
No, he's like a newer growing artist.
Yeah.
He's his guitar player now.
That's pretty dope.
And he's been my best friend since 4th grade. And he gets into engineering and stuff too. So when we recorded those 2 EPs, Lee's plate basically was full, and we were tapped on money. Mm-hmm. So I hit him up, and he was like, "Dude, this sounds so fun. Send me stems now." And we said, "Bet, let's do it."
Yeah,
and
sounds good.
Our first single was
what's his name again?
Tyler Tomlinson.
Tyler Tomlinson.
Tyler Cole on Tyler Cole Guitar on Instagram.
Yeah,
but he's
plug him. Yeah, sounds good, Tyler.
I love it, dude. I love him so much because like I've been in recording studios and stuff before, but I also like do a lot of my own shit at home, and I love that like the stay-at-home ability of like, hey, can you like change this one thing? Oh yeah, versus like, oh, I have to book another day of studio time to go and fix like a small mistake here and there.
Yeah,
and also like he's pretty hands-on about like, what do you think we needs to be changed? Like he sends us things in the works, or like as he's working on them, and he's like, do you like this so far? Do you need any like change here, there, or whatever? And I'm just, it's been like allowing us to be authentic about like the music that we want to write.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and he's quite honestly quite a producer too, because we've sat with him, or he's even been in Nashville before, and he was like, "Hey, this one part hit me a little weird. Do you mind me just picking up a guitar and changing one thing?" And I'm good.
Oh yes, please.
And altering this, can I send it to you and see what you think? And it's just nice to have company like that aren't saying, yeah, everything's perfect, let's just mount this up and put it on a record and let's
because
go.
I know that there are not, like, you can't fix everything in post. Some things,
no,
because like there's like performance things and inflections that you can't just like there's not a plugin for that. There's not a plugin for human.
I've tried with and succeeded with certain ones, but sometimes it's like with a voice, it's like I'm like there's a particular syllable or sound, like a phonetic sound, where it's like that sounds like garbage, and then you try to look for it, and it's one of those things where I know the listener doesn't know it's there, but I know it's there.
There are times where like
that's 90% of.
I'll miss a consonant. I'll miss a consonant in a word in like in a recording or whatever, and I listen to my own music a lot, but it's always in like with like a fine-tooth comb type thing, and like I'll miss like a letter or something and like hate it, and like fuck, I can't even listen to the song until I fix it.
And sometimes there's just oversight stuff, because when like Cole does all of his recording at home, and I'm at my house editing or receiving and listening through and stuff, and it's so easy to have oversight and just not realize something's slightly off when it's just two of you working on a thing. That's one of the weirdest things we've experienced having a 2-piece band this whole time is
learning how to listen to more than just ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's still to your benefit though, like
100%.
Like to like have like you have minimal control, right? As far as creative control, it's you guys. Then you entrust it to another person to handle the other angle of the triangle, but they're still, like you said, contributing and like giving feedback and even being like, hey, just an idea. How about this part? We do this instead of this. If not, no worries, but. And it's what you said as well, as far as like sometimes you don't want to have to go back into a studio to be like, all right, man, can we just bring this guitar just down? Like,
there have been more times where I've left the studio like being like, fuck, I didn't do good enough. And
every time I finish an album, it's always, fuck, I didn't do good enough.
And I hate that shit, especially like when like it, like, because in Square Up, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't my money we were playing with, and so like in my head, I'm like, I have to deliver on a certain level just because this is my end of the bargain.
Right.
And like there'll be times where we would leave and then like, I didn't do good enough, and fuck, I just wasted your time and your money and like your effort and this, that, and the other. And it like those kind of things bother me, and they make it really hard for me to want to go into studios more than just, can I just do it at home? Mm-hmm. Because then I have a million fucking tries as long as the lights are on.
Oh yeah, dude, making this last record at home. I've made DIY records before with another person, but like whenever it was just me, and being able to have that sort of freedom to be able to be like, you know what, I don't like the way this song is turning out. I'm gonna remix the whole idea, like where it's like it's a good idea, but I don't want to execute a good idea in a bad way, because then the idea's gone. And it's like, fuck, I wasted a good idea. And I've done that before whenever, like, I've, used other people's studios before, where it's like, fuck, man, I'm, like, not to any other musicians or engineers, but, like I like listening to my own music as well, with a fine-tooth comb.
I am way too guilty.
Yeah, like we do this, like we are constantly, like my phone right now is full of everything past this next record. Like, and I listen to it so much because I'm like, what can I do better? What can I do bigger? What can I try next time?
One thing I've tried, I had a lot of ideas that were left over from this psychedelic record. Some of them were, the ideas were just, they're too dark. And I didn't want to beat the listener over the head towards the second end of the album. I wanted to sort of like a psychedelic. It gets intense, and then you sort of level out. And you're like, hey, everything's groovy, baby.
We pulled some songs from this record, and like one of them we canned completely all together, just because it's like, holy shit! You can be sad, but like don't wallow in it.
Yeah.
And like he always tells me that like we're an emo band or whatever, but there are some songs that we have just like set aside because it was too much.
With a couple of them, because I had probably like 3 or 4 like leftovers, and one of them was like almost pretty much a finished mix, and just like cut it down, like was just like, no, I don't want this on the record. Like,
it was one of his favorite songs that I had written, but I had written it a really long time ago, and it was about some shit that I just don't feel anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no, like, I can talk about things from the past, but now more so than back then when I was going through it and wrote a song about it. And it was like it didn't fit with how much I had grown, and so I was like, fuck that song. But then there was a song that was going to come out like with the EPs that's now on the album, where we had to rewrite the whole song together, like scrap what it was even originally about. And like because he hated one of the lines, or like it just didn't hit his ear right. And like listening to it after he said it, I was like, oh, that is kind of weird.
What was the line?
It was like, you're bad for me, but you're sticky sweet.
You had to. I was like, what line is he talking about? And you had to say it. Oh God, yeah. I was like, I hated this song for what 5-6 months straight, because like when we had first started talking about this band. And we were just playing around with stuff. That was like one of the first things that actually got done. And I hated this song.
I was like, dude, I figured it out.
And he would send me a new version of it with the same vocals, and I was like, I hate this.
I was like, well, maybe the guitars just weren't right. Well, here's an update, and he's like, actually, no, this still fucking sucks.
This is so bad. Like,
we asked like 5 or 6 people, because I'm really bad about leaking my music, just to like. Because I always want to see how people like think things are, and I want to show people that what is out right now is not all that there is.
Right.
And I sent it to him, I sent it to Lee, and I sent it to like a couple of other people, and everybody sent back, that's kind of sus. maybe not that line. Or why is it the chorus? You have to say it a lot.
I was borderline a douche because I was like, please, dude, just stop sending me the song.
I kept trying to finagle it. And I was like, well, I changed the bridge. The bridge isn't the problem.
Dude, we actually had like quite a long argument about this song, like for months straight. We were cool when we were talking about anything else. But I would immediately get like enraged.
I would get in his car and turn it on. And I'm like, "Here's a new mix of it," and he's like, "No, dude,
no,
fuck."
No, the song ain't happening, man.
Because like he and I, like there are some songs where I'll send him, and he's like, I don't know," and I'll have to explain what I feel about that song. Because like not like some of the songs, like I try not to write filler songs, but I'm like I know that they're filler songs. But there are some songs where I'm like I have to communicate this. Mm-hmm. But that song, It was the abruptness for me, I think. I was like, how's this? And he listened, like, it was long enough for him to listen to the song. He's like, I fucking hate this one line so much. And then he's like, but send it to Lee. And then Lee sent back, that line, maybe, question mark. Because Lee's never, like, mean about things. And
No. I even with every shitty idea I've brought into his studio, he's never been like, yo, dude, this sucks.
Yeah, because, like,
sometimes he should be.
Yeah, like
he's just not.
Like I'll send him like my cacophony of like, because whenever I record songs, like if I ever use like the free version of something, I know that I couldn't put all the tracks that I want into a thing, because like I bury it in layers in this, because like I am constantly having ideas about like if I listen to something long enough, I'll tear it apart, or I'll like stack it too high and it'll fall over.
Oh, dude, one of the songs I cut, which I'm still trying to find a way to finagle into this next one. But it had like something like a 16-piece orchestra, and then like would descend into like electronic doom like type metal, and like just opening the file, my computer like essentially like just got one step closer to death. Like every
because he and I we work on limitations, because my computer can't handle much.
I don't know, man. Like this guy. Now the only thing I really use this guy for is audio. You know what I mean? A small amount of video, but not really. And he's like 10 years old, and like I made the last record on him, and there are some limitations, but I work with whatever I got, man. Whatever those limitations are, like it's not gonna, back in the day, you used to have money to be able to write sheet music to bring it to an orchestra. Say, will you play this with me while I strum along and sing?
Here's like says this 6-month process, like dragged down to like a plug-in and a keyboard.
Yeah. So like now, like I can build my orchestra using MIDI, and like, oh my lord, dude! Like whenever using computers to make music sort of opens you up to like this whole world of possibilities, man.
Like I've started producing music, or like trying to and learning how to at like 13 or 14 years old.
Oh wow.
Because, like, where I'm from, Moultrie, like, there are a lot of people who have the instruments that don't have the drive. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I've been in 1,000,001 bands,
I've known oodles of incredibly talented musicians, and probably 1% of that oodle are people I'd be like, I'd like to make music with you on more than one occasion.
Yeah,
there's just something to it. Like you said before, different people's driving factors. My driving factor is create. Like, let's make more and more and more and more. And if you don't have people like that, then I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I like my band being in the computer. And
yeah, and that was like Square Up was my first like real outing of being in a band, and like consistently like, all right, me and these guys really do meet every week, and like.
Didn't you guys open for All American Rejects?
Yeah, that was before he was with us, but that was a fucking...
still, what a rush, though.
Dude, I love that I can put that on my resume a little bit. Like, cause, like, and like, even now, like, I got hired at my job now, and people were like, I feel like I remember seeing you somewhere. I was like, was it like an amusement park? Like, you played at Wild Adventures, didn't you? And I was like, yeah. Like, then, like, we've opened for Trapped. We got offered to open for a metro station and stuff like that. Like, we've got offers that band had a lot of potential for it to have died the way that it did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But, like, also, right at the end of that is when he and I first met. And it was the first time I'd ever been pushed as a musician in, like, this new landscape. Because I was still just a person. like just a guy here. Like now, people know me as more than just, oh, you were in Bobby's band. And like that was really crushing to hear a lot, especially sometimes when people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see Bobby's band," and they didn't even know that I was in it, and that type of stuff. And like, so I was like, I kind of want to like figure out how I can make music for myself as well. And like, he heard the very first side solo, whatever you want to call it, project that I did called Pessimist, which was just like 8 super crybaby ass songs. And he was like, there's something we can do with this. And then he was like, well, let's push a pop punk band and see what we can do with pop without making it corny. And not everyone agreed with the transitions that we were making. And on top of that, just interpersonal stuff got in the way of what could have been a great thing.
Right.
And
yeah,
so,
I was about to say, I'm not commenting on any of this.
Yeah,
my feelings are way too hard into it still.
Yeah, like that was talking about music was the only thing I was afraid of about him, like both of us coming, because like I know that he still feels a way about some things in the way that they ended, because they didn't really end. It's just people stopped talking.
Mm. Well, I mean, shit. When you take 5 personalities and you essentially have a family by choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
it's not without its dysfunction.
Hell no, man. Hell no.
And like we were a very tumultuous bunch. Like the main guys of us, there was only 3, and then like we had like a rotating door of like guitar players and drummers. Unfortunately, that's just how it went. But it was weird to see the band like when it was at its most dysfunctional interpersonally, because musically we were so fucking solid. And like,
y'all were very tight performers. Like, I saw you guys 2 or 3 times, different lineup.
Yeah.
But
a real who's of who the fuck is that?
But I mean, I knew you and Bobby, so I mean,
it was just.
I think with something like Hand Signs though, like with it just being the 2 of you guys, and not having presumably limitations on music except with what you want to do. You know what I mean?
We literally want to do whatever the fuck we want. That's literally it. Like, unfortunately, this area is well, I won't say plagued, but it's bogged down with a lot of things that fall into one genre or the other. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be mean. Things fall into like 3 categories for the most part around here. And like, I was never really that good at metal. Like, I have my moments where I'll like have like a cool riff or a cool idea and stuff like that, but I can't do it. Like,
I'm not that fast, bro.
Yeah, like I can't do it long term.
Like, even with me like doing like my fancy tappy stuff, it's like that is like an amalgamation of like 20 plus years of me playing just to get to that level to play as fast as some dudes can do with like sweep picking and stuff like that. Like, I can't do that shit, man.
I just don't have fun with it anymore.
And it's also that. It's like
I got into the scene and metal and everything when I was like 15, 16,
mm-hmm.
and started playing. And now that I'm 28, it's like to go back into metal or anything of that sort feels like I'm taking myself back into an old
lifestyle.
Yeah, an old episode of life that has been dead and gone for 10 years.
Right.
Like, why keep doing the same thing?
Yeah, I just can't, like, I couldn't push myself to do it. Which is why when I talked to Cole, because I quit music in, like, 2015. Yeah, I quit. Like, I was done. I was done with music in 2015, and that's when I joined the Navy Reserves. And then randomly in A school, I just had this, like, vision and thing of, like, starting a pop rock band. I was like, that's literally just what I want to do. Like if I'm ever going to be in music, this is what I want to do again. Because it can grow, you can sound like anything. You don't have to necessarily label it as pop rock. You can sound like an emo band one day. You can sound like alt rock the next day. You're still pop rock because that's the world now.
Right.
Came back, and then the whole Square Up thing happened. That was just... Honestly, I joined because Bobby asked me to. Was the main gist of it, and
holy shit!
And even though I said I didn't want to
you.
go into an old episode of life, I was back in Valdosta because I'm in the reserves. I spent a year up in Great Lakes, Illinois, and I came back, and you fall back into old crap. Like, I was going through a whole lot of things that doesn't necessarily need to be mentioned. I was in a really bad place in life. I just didn't care about really anything mentally, per se. So I found myself hanging out with Bobby all the time. And he was like, hey, do you want to play drums? And I was like, sure. And that's when that happened. And then when we met, and then everything in Square Up happened. Yeah, we just took that time off, gather ourselves up. And then I was like, so Cole, I've had this idea for a really long time. What you think?
And at first it was, I'll help you. Because, like, I really didn't want to do music anymore. Just because I was, like, the first time out and I was bitter already.
Yeah.
And then, like, it became, well, here's some songs that I could, like, probably rework and rewrite from, like, the old stuff. Because with Square Up, I had written, like, 50 or 60 songs before we called it. And, like, we only got those 2 EPs that were kind of not even really EPs. One was 3, one was 2. And I was like, well, I can send you these and we can finagle them and see what'll happen. And then it became, well, I can sing on it if we can't find a singer fast enough. And then it became, well, I mean, we can put something together and see what happens. And it snowballed into, let's fucking do this, dog. Like, fuck it. Might as well.
And then snowballed into it being just me and you. Like, we got exhausted trying to find other people, and we were like, okay, screw it.
Screw it.
This is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of taking the as broad of a genre, an umbrella term that you can, like, for instance, pop rock, like, because like you said, like what can you put in pop rock? Well, essentially anything you want to, you know. It's kind of I use a blanket term for alternative because like, well, what is alternative? Well, you can put anything in there, you know.
It's literally just it was like, I loved, like, taking music appreciation and shit in college, even though it was low-key a waste of fucking money. And then he was like, alternative was literally a genre to give you something else to listen to other than pop on the radio.
Yeah.
And, like, it was literally the alternative to pop.
Yeah, it was at first called that because you had to have, like, college radio stations that would play it and whatnot. Like, who is it? REM?
Trip to the car real quick.
I guess.
There's an extra
Fuck's
pack
sake.
in there.
Be right back.
Comes back with an AK and robs me blind.
Yes.
What were you
Please! Relax now. Good.
How about the Second Amendment now?
I'd be fucked because closest firearm is like 20 feet.
Yeah, I can believe whatever I want. I don't even have one, so it doesn't matter to me right now.
Goes back to talk about outside earlier, like, it's the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Let's have a good time. Like, you know, America's eventually gonna fall. No empire ever stays like the same. Like, nothing ever stays the same. Eventually, it's gonna fall.
No worries, the good guys.
For now.
I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens.
But until that day happens when the world does crumble, I mean, it's the beauty of, like, being able to do DIY music is that, like you don't have to rely on, like, the outside world or anybody else, or, you know, the constraints of, okay, well, what's the market like around here? Is it, I'll say it, is it country, punk, or hip-hop? If it's not one of those 3, then, well, I guess I'll add a 4th one in. Swamp hippie. So anything that's like jam band, like, type music or whatnot, like, that's fucking huge around here. But those are, like, the umbrella, genres or whatnot. And you have to kind of stay away with, like, fucking politics or churches or something. Like, you have to play by the rules. You have to, you know, write your songs a certain way. I was in a band in Jersey called Suicide Project, and we were playing at this place called the Meat Locker in North New Jersey.
Of course it was.
It's called beef.
Is this place that had a glory hole in the toilet? The toilet was just like right here, where the door's open, and imagine there's a wall, but the floor's not down, so the floor or the wall stops about a foot short of reaching the floor. So, like, you can see anybody in there just, like, you know, like, taking a shit or like doing drugs or like fucking blowing people and whatnot. So we show up and like I'm kind of enamored with it because I'm like, this is the grungiest venue I've ever been to.
True Bohemia.
And like seeing like they have like stuff of like who all's been at the meat locker and whatnot. I'm like, this is cool. But this the hardcore kids from the local high school, they're there, right? And like they don't have all their instruments, so they're waiting for somebody. And like, I know what's up. I know the hustle. And they're like, hey, can we use your stuff? I'm like, well, we're supposed to go on in like half an hour, so after we get done, maybe we'll see. Like I'm not running this show, but like nobody's using anything before I use it. And our other guitarist was like, oh yeah, man, I don't care, go ahead. So then of course like 10 hardcore bands like
they do a fucking merry-go-round on your gear.
Yeah. And so
that was the thing about being in a pop punk band but having hardcore gear though.
Yeah.
Because like I had like I use a Pod 500 or HD 500, which is like the standard for like most modern deathcore and metalcore and stuff like that and hardcore. And so like pulling up to a show and people are like, oh, you have that? Can I just use that? I don't have a tone of my own.
I don't know why our guy was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, but he did, and then he starts like bitch about it. He's like. They're trashing it. That guy just threw up on my amp. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you never.
What do you expect from the meat locker?
Fuck's sake.
Just be glad there's not jizz on it, man.
Yeah, like I'm gonna take the fucking amp head back and give it what for real. Like,
dude, there was our buddies. They were in a psychedelic doom band called Ominous Black. Two of them were like tattoo artists. My buddy Taco was a guitar player. He's a tattoo artist, and he walks around to the quote unquote green room at the meat locker, and there's like a dude getting a jailhouse tattoo with a guitar string and ink and just jamming it in there.
Fuck, that's real hardcore.
Yeah,
though. That's that's like real punk. That's like where punk came from, was that do it your fucking self.
Yeah, pierce your ears with a safety pin, like all that kind of stuff. So Taco like leans over to him. He's like, "Hey man, I'm a tattoo artist. Don't mean to interrupt you, but you're gonna get a staph infection if you keep finishing up that tattoo." And the guy looks at his friend and goes, "Do you care if you get a staph infection?" The guy goes, "Fuck it!"
That's some raw shit right there, dude. That's. Don't ask which way that guy went, because he doesn't give a fuck. Like,
long tangent from the meat locker story, but it's I don't even know if it's still operational. Awesome venue, horrible venue, but I mean awesome.
As if you're looking for the hellscape, there you are.
Like you want to know what punk in New Jersey is like? You can go to the meat locker. You find all about it. But after we get done, this guy in this hardcore band that was like not playing, but he was just hanging out. He's like, I really enjoyed your band. I was like, oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate it. He's like, waves me closer with his fingers. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, little critique. I don't really care for the quiet and pretty parts. When it's heavy, it's really raw. And it sounds really awesome. It's like the best stuff I've ever heard, man. But like when it's soft and pretty, I just really don't care for it. Like, all right. Well, I like the music that we do, and we don't like to just have heavy parts over and over again.
Yeah,
so.
like why cater?
Yeah, so
to anyone but your fucking self.
Yeah,
that was what I hated about, honestly, about the growth of Square Up is it was always hardcore bills. And like, fuck, like we only had 2 heavy songs just to appease that. And so like people would come up and they're like they would only gauge us off of those 2 hardcore songs. And it was just because I was really, really immature then, because like at that point, when Square Up started, I approached Bobby like after he left Second Death or whatever it was the name was at that point, and I was just like, here's like a handful of at the very, very beginning of Square Up.
I wasn't in there.
I know.
I was about to say, whoa.
At the very, very beginning, and like
it was Beware, man.
And I gave him like 3 songs, And then I was like, here's these things that I've been working on in my fucking bedroom that are actually like listenable.
Right.
What do you think? And he was like, oh, like this could actually, like we could actually do some shit with that. And the first song we recorded was a hardcore song, of course. And like there's a 2016 demo of that song that still exists somewhere.
Should add to the Bandcamp.
I don't know about all that. But like then like our first bill was like with just deathcore bands. The first show ever, and it's like Second Death and like the guys in Young Ghost, they're super talented. I think it's like a band called Repressor. I still listen to their music to this day. But it was just like from there was always, well, you can build with the hardcore bands. And that was always what we got called for. And then like people would approach and they're like, dude, those heavy songs, they're fucking dope. And I was like, but there's like 6 other songs in that set list.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you have to cater to that every single show.
Yeah, and then like,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
let's make the pretty songs heavy sounding too, which went from like, I was doing backup singing to just, all right, I'm just going to scream all of the backup parts from now on.
Yeah. I've had people before, whenever I was in like a 4-piece doing like heavy music, be like, well, you know, your scream's good, but we'd like it if you scream more. It's like, bro, I can't scream more. Like one, I don't want to. Like I can sing pretty decently. You know, I can carry a tune in an octave at least. I would much rather write songs that have melody and violence in them than just violence over and over again. And like I love Meshuggah. That shit'll make me beat somebody into biological obscurity with a lawn chair. You know what I mean? Like, it just fucking moves me like that. I don't want to perform that kind of music though. Like I want to take pieces of things of like nightmarish type music, but like you said, like you get burnt out after a while.
Yeah.
Where
and the big aesthetic to me that made me want to choose a genre or an umbrella genre such as we have is just strictly the fact that, like, I guess I'm not saying anything for anybody else. It's mainly just for me. But when you listen to metal, X, Y, and Z, all these types of genres that you find around here, is you're stuck mainly in one feeling. And I'm tired of like, you listen to an album and your emotion doesn't change one single time through the entire record.
How many times can you tell someone you're the tough guy? How many times can you tell someone like I'll beat the shit out of you?
I mean,
pull your entrails out.
I mean,
and
even
wrap
just
them around
as
your
the
neck
listener,
and hang you and shit
like I finally wanted at least local music, which I don't want to obviously forever be local, but I mean at least local music that you can listen to and actually feel something. Like that's the type of person I am. If your song or your project, entire record doesn't at least have some sort of curve from emotion from front to end, then to me it's like pointless to listen to.
And I hate with like bodies of like heavy music now where like they'll have like the one down tempo song that's like I'm super depressed. That's like all of them.
Yeah.
Well, and see, even to me that doesn't sound like depression. It just sounds like slower tempo beatdown music. Like that's really all.
It's like it's slow build, ambient guitar, heavy breakdown. All right, let's move on to. All right, we're back to I'm the toughest fucking dude here always.
This is the love song. It's like, really? Your love song kind of sounds like the get up and beat somebody song.
Do you love chewing on like hot fire coals or some shit? Like, that's what I'm getting from you. Because like I don't understand. Like I know I said.
Let's end bullying, but let's play the song that makes you want to punch somebody.
Let's end bullying.
Yeah,
beat the
irony,
shit out of
right?
each other.
Yeah.
Whenever like I was coming up and I got a late start with like you know like music the same time I got into weed and alcohol and pussy I had a band. You know, but
break it in.
I had like these encounters with like all of these musicians that were part of the scene, quote unquote. They were just so like nasty to everybody that didn't play the music they wanted them to play.
It's still that way, man.
They won't talk to you if you're not in that genre.
100%. And like me, like I don't give a shit. Like there's a reason why like I wanted to have you like on the show. Pleased to have your company as well. One pleasant surprise. But it's because like you like I can't do the music you make. Like I don't want to, but I mean like those are like the other artists that I enjoy are like the ones where it's just like something different. That's why I don't like echo chambers of like you get folks together, it's just they voted for Trump. I'm like, well, fucking hang him in the street then, right?
Yeah,
like, burn all the books. Somebody disagreed with you. Just fucking,
fuck them in their whole existence.
I mean, good God, dude. Like we're all here for different reasons, I'm sure. But, one thing we can all agree on is that, you as musicians, you want to be around folks that want to encourage you to create and encourage you to make something unique with your music, and not to be hey, are you a hardcore band? Hey, we need a metal band. Hey, we need you to do this or whatnot, or just be limited to one genre. It's so fucking boring, dude.
It's painful. When we first were getting started, I was like, this is going to be really hard to sell, just because it's not the same four things.
I would say then, man, and just as a slight tangent, not that I'm kissing either of y'all's asses, I like that, the EPs had a lot of ear candy in them, that there was a scope of sounds that were almost ethereal, sort of waving the listener in, miles apart from what I was expecting, you know what I mean? And just from knowing you as a guitar songwriter and as a songwriter of melody and things like this. So I was really pleased that it's something vastly different, I like stuff that is different.
No, I 100% agree. I'm a spiritual person, which I tend to not really talk about. So if songs or bands don't have a specific spiritual energy, I just can't listen to it. But going back to what Cole said a second ago, when he was like, "This is going to be hard to sell, hard to pitch, hard to etc." The second I knew that we actually sincerely had something really good in the works was when we made Here's Hoping on the second EP, just because it was so different. It had essence. It had raw emotion, and that was just us basically saying, crossing our freaking fingers that something like this worked. And that's how I get it. That's not even how he wrote it. That's not what any of his lyrics meant to him when they were put down on paper. I listened to him, and I was like, dude, this song is literally almost a mission statement to me of why we started this in the first place. And it sounded different. And I was like, okay, we got something, and
everything thus far has just literally just been at first it was a finger cross. Everything was a finger cross, but now things are more for us are more well, if we just keep doing whatever we want, if something goes, it all technically has to.
Right.
And so well, let's just keep doing whatever the fuck we want as far as sound.
Well, and even to your point, as far as how it's beneficial. If you guys just keep making it, you're going to have a huge library. You know what I mean? People like that whenever they discover new music when you have already a lot to offer them. You know what I mean? Because
one of my favorite
bands gives them a lot to dig into.
One of my favorite bands of all time right now has 3 songs out, period. I found them last year, and they only had one. And the way that I found one was their first song, period. And I was like, what the fuck? I need more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so with us, we were at first it was just let's get something to pull an idea together to see if we can make a body of work that sounds cohesive.
Yeah,
right.
Can we do it? Because we even had our own doubts. Can we do this? Cole was like, dude, it's gonna take a while because this isn't my realm. This isn't, and I was like, yeah, me either. I have drum tracks and that's it. I can't do guitar. I have some drums that I thought sounded good,
Right.
So we were like, can we do it? And he's like, I don't know if I can do it. And we wrote anyway. And then finally we were like, okay, I think we finally got ourselves in a position where we can write and not worry or feel discontent with ourselves actually trying to make music. Now we're making the music. We're not trying to make the music anymore.
Right.
Yeah, because I was really worried in the beginning about it's the same thing that plagues us all is once you pick a style of music that you want to do, you try and put yourself in the box of only these characteristics.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that he literally trusts me to do whatever the fuck I want. As long as it makes enough sense. And some things I'll send to him and he's like, let's
sticky sweet.
let's dial it back. Yeah, sticky sweet. You have to let's rework this a little bit. Maybe it'll go if you'll just stop saying those words.
And even sometimes when I'm like that, we kind of nudged this earlier. It's like I'm a deep thinker. Like I said earlier, I'm realistically a spiritual person. So sometimes I'll just go, and that means like I need to know why, or I want to know like what caused you to create this. This might sound bad to me, but if I know the why and the background story of why this sounds like this, just because it disconnects with me doesn't mean it's something that's disconnected to the entire world or the market or him or other people that can get behind the song. Like the one song he was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. Like, because I hated that song for like, well, not Sticky Sweet. I still hated that. But there was a song that like we argued about every single time. Like every single time, I was like, dude, like these drums aren't me. Like I can put me in them, but like these drums aren't me. This isn't the feeling that I have towards music right this second. Like, and then I was like, just give me the why. Like we argued for the longest time, and then finally, like with paragraphs like a mile long through text message, super long. And he was fine. I think it was his I'm tired of this text message, mm-hmm. and then sent me the long why, and I was like, and here we are, 5 months of arguing about this song. Like, if we could have just like send me this paragraph, like it was a song that he wrote in like, you know, one of his I guess per se, if I don't know if I'll quote you or anything correctly, but like in an emotional state of mind, and he was like, this is me getting that away from myself, and to me it just sounded like, you know, just another song I don't connect with. Right. But now that I know that those sounds, those drums that I don't necessarily like myself, like I can play them, sure, cool. But now that I know that and that.
I just realized what song we were talking about too.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm not going to say anything because it's going to be on a body of work. But, so yeah, I'm not pushing all that out or whatever. And so we find, like, I got the why. I, like, just because it disconnected with my ear or anything, now that I know why, because it's not my story, you know?
Right.
It was.
I was like, thankfully, now we're here. Now I can get behind this. Let's make this song work because now I want what you want because we're on the same page.
It was a super downer song, but it was like it came out of nowhere. I think that was like part of it, and then like when I first wrote it, I wrote it by myself because it was like part of the solo project that I was doing. And then I was like, well, we can make this work for us. And I sent it to him, and I was like, how do you think? And he was like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And, like, I had to sell him on it. Which, that's, like, how I listen to music now. It's like, I don't give a shit what music you actually make. If you can sell me on why you're making it, I'll listen every fucking time.
Right.
Like, I fucking love it. Like, our friends in Counteract, like, at first I didn't understand. In my head, I was like, it's another hardcore band because that's what comes from here. But then, like, me and the vocalist, Ryan, like, he and I have been friends for a while, but he and I actually, like, had a conversation about, like, what made him want to, like, do it. And, like, what pushed him and what drove him. And I was like, well, fuck yeah. Keep doing that. Dude, I want to, like, if I can help you do that, let me do that. Mm-hmm. And, like, it takes more than just, I liked your sound now and you still sound like that, so I'm going to keep listening to it. It's like, if it's just the same emotion year after year, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, you get creative stagnation, you know? And, like, I think that happens whenever you have people that, I think Gavin was talking about earlier, is you want to have folks that they're trying to figure out what music they need to make, but not for themselves. Like, it's either like for somebody else or for a scene or something. And what they should focus on is like, well, what music do you want to make for you? Like, what
they worry about what moves and not what moves them. And that oh god, I hate it. I hate that like it's a self-destructive cycle that like it churns out the music that we hate because it's all bubblegum.
Yeah, no, exactly, and which I think I attribute to this, to my own spiritualism or whatever. But like, if your music doesn't resonate in a wavelength that moves yourself, like how can anyone else connect to it? Because like I listen to the radio, I listen to other things, and you feel the energy of written for you. This song was written for you to buy it. Like, mm-hmm. like it's on the wavelength of green, and that's it. Like yeah. That's all. And I feel that, and I automatically hate that song. As catchy as it is, I hate that crap. When you feel like this person's sincere, this person's real, it almost like pulls you into their wave every single time.
I've always been a big proponent of, if you're gonna do music with lyrics, then one, have something to say, and two,
agreed.
make me believe you. Like, if you are like, you're telling me this, will make me believe you. I read somebody had, I think it was Rolling Stone, like way back in the day when I was like still reading Rolling Stone, but they had an album review of like Bush or some post-grunge band, and they were like, I think it was Bush, it was like Gavin Rossdale, the singer, is not showing you his emotions, he's guessing at yours. And I thought that was a really good way to sum up sort of the whole bubblegum or cheapening notion of art, where like if you they want you to keep making the same music because it's a proven market, right? They want you to like keep making Reese cups. We don't need Reese wafers. We need Reese cups. Just make a bigger cup. Oh, you made Nutrageous. Oh God, we don't need this, Reese. We need you to keep making the cups. You know?
Yeah, like, and that it destroys any hope for creativity or for like the confidence in creativity, because like there's some kid somewhere who's like, I'm gonna make bedroom pop music or like shoegaze or something, and they're like, but I can't, because that's not what goes here.
Yeah.
Then that it ruins the chance for people to like just go out and make music. Who gives a fuck? Like, if what goes, it goes for you.
Yeah, I had felt myself tied too much to the guitar, which, I mean, the guitar is my first lover. You know what I mean? Like, and it'll always be there with me. But I felt my songwriting had become too reliant on trying to convert my songs to an acoustic format so I could play them in front of people. And then when I started getting burned out on performing, I was like, fuck, man, I want to just make music. I don't give a shit about the performance aspect of it anymore. If I had a choice between you can either perform live in front of crowds and do that full time, or you can not perform again and just keep making new music, I would rather keep making new music than go back to performing live, like, hands down.
The hardest problem with like a lot of like the bands that are trying to blow up and trying to get bigger and trying to get better is that like a lot of them, they just write the music for the tour. They don't write the music because like, oh, we need to put out, like I felt this like huge library of emotions in the like X amount of time, and I want to share them with you. It's like, I gotta make something so I can play something new on tour.
Yeah, and I gotta make it now. I got 3 to 4 weeks to do it so it can be mastered, so we can tour as soon as possible.
But I fucking love performing, but I would never let it get in the way of writing, because if I can give you like the best song that you've ever heard versus the best show that you've ever seen, you can listen to that song forever and ever and ever, amen. That show was only once.
Yeah.
That was a snapshot, you had to be there. It's the Woodstock thing. Like,
yeah.
I can't believe you just quoted a country song. That was dope.
I didn't know I quoted a country song.
Forever and ever, amen.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off.
No, that was kind of awesome. Anyway.
So you guys are doing a country EP in like 3 years?
Well, I mean, there is a country song already.
No, there's not, but your mom thought it was.
my mom swore up and down that song. Like, okay, so before the album comes out, I think we're going to put out like some live sessions that we did, just because fuck, we wanted to like get out of the house and show you guys that, hey, first of all, we are a band and we can perform.
Right.
But also, like, here's some shit that doesn't sound like the stuff already, but it is in the same vein-ish. And like one of them, when it was just a demo at home, I sent it to my mom, and my mom was like, "You write country now?" And I was like, "Oh." I don't know all that.
I definitely think it's in the indie realm of music.
Yeah, and like,
it's not country.
I did the live session version of it. That's a fucking country song. Sorry, dog.
It's still not.
Still not. Some modern country, man. Sturgill Simpson. That's a bad
motherfucker. The way you sing
dude.
is why I say indie and not country.
Well, yeah. If you take my voice out of it, that's a country song. I'm sorry, dude.
I mean, yeah, because Tyler was filling and helping play.
Yeah, because like,
is there like slide guitar in it, or
no. He's just a country guitar player.
Yeah, like you hear that shit. Like,
oh yeah.
We did another one of our songs. Oh. Well, we can talk about it because it's already out. We did a version of Identity, which is off of the last EP, which is more of like it's like the end of the pop punk era for me. And like he just like does whatever he wants for like the last little portion of it because it's just supposed to be like a play until you fade out type thing.
Right.
But like, oh my god, the guitar work that guy can do. But in my head, I'm like, dude, this is a country solo, and I'm not mad at it at all.
There's something about the guitar playing with country that like is really similar to metal guitarists, where again it's like I can't go that fast, dude. Like they'll call it a chicken picking.
Yep.
Where
Nope.
it's like
That's Tyler.
dude, I
He,
can't do that shit, man.
I don't know if he still does, but he acrylics these 3 fingers.
Oh, wow, so you can
he
arpeggio
can
that
literally
shit?
play with everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and like that's how
He's
I know
insane.
that guitar is not where I'm meant to be.
He won't take credit for it, but he is still the best guitar player I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's awesome.
And like
I could never like get that
Oh, it's ridiculous.
type of rhythm down. Like
It is ridiculous.
seeing people who like actually play guitar and like love guitar and stuff, it always blows my fucking mind because I know that I can't do it. And so like watching like when we were in the studio with him, he was like correcting shit that I didn't even know was wrong, and I'm just like, oh, whatever you say goes, Mr. Man. Like take it from my hands and into yours. Like I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
I met a lot. When I went to school in Orlando, I met a lot of guitar players in my class, and some of them, because like I'm self-taught, so in my mind it's like, fuck man, I've been playing over 20 years and I've only gotten this good yet. But some of them would tell me that had lessons. They'd be like, oh yeah, our teacher would play a chord for us like over like speakers, like audio, and we would have to know what the chord was, and it would be like jazz chords. And
Oh yeah,
like,
Matt Year's like nothing. Like that.
Dude, okay, so
No,
when
Tyler
I was
can do it though.
when I was in college, like that was what
Nope.
like I was going for music education, and so you have to take classes and shit like that. And the whole time I'm in there, like they're teaching me like how to like hear read and stuff like that, where it's like here's a note, where does it fall? Here's 3 notes. Is it a note group? Is it in this like what key is it? Like all this.
Were you any good with it?
I was, but that's because like I had like I did have classical training, but only for trombone. Like I played trombone since 5th or 6th grade. Like it was what like I got a guitar first, but I didn't start playing guitar until around 13 or 14 when I was like, I'm just gonna start making music myself. Fuck you guys.
A trombone is, I think that's a single note at a time instrument,
Oh
right?
yeah, monochord. And it
Like I could see where like training your ears for that like would definitely be
I
beneficial
became
for it.
a section leader in like the brass section just because like I don't like hearing wrong things. Like I hate wrong notes that stick out and shit. Fuck, it makes my skin crawl. And so like that part I understood or whatever, but it was like the drilling of it and the note, and I was like the whole time like I was already making pop punk and we were already like traveling and stuff, and so I was like, well, I'm already doing what I want to fucking do anyway.
Right.
And so I just quit school. It was January of 2017, and I was like, fuck school altogether. I'm just gonna start playing music all the time. And then to like that, I think that was why I was like one of the reasons why I was super bitter when it stopped, because I was like, I stopped everything for this.
Right. So what's the future look like for Hand Signs? When's have you set a release date yet for a full length or anything?
No.
It got pushed back. We had a full-fledged plan, like all the way up until the next album, which is already done. And then we got some things back slower than we liked, and so we were
COVID killed kind of everything this year. We're waiting on a good few mixes for the full length, but we have back the live sessions.
Yeah,
We're just waiting for
we have a video component that comes
sides
with it.
there.
Nice.
And because like we wanted, like we were like, we're not just gonna do it, we're gonna do it well. And so we have like Matt Zagorski, who's been like just a fucking hand all the time for us, just been super
It's another
helpful.
bad motherfucker. Is Matt
Oh
Zagorski.
my god, the things that man can do. Like he was originally going to play like with us, for us, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like he got a better job, like a better like big boy job, and so he had to like gracefully bow out of that. And we were like, that's fine. Like, and he was like, but if you guys need help with things, just tell me. And so his hand is on it. Lee's hand's on it. Tyler was on it. Caleb from Caleb's Mountain, Caleb Barnes, he helped us out.
Sean Brooks Perry.
Sean Brooks Perry. Oh my God, he was very handy, and he was just like, all of them were just like, give us the information and we'll figure it the fuck out. And like, so I'm really excited for this one to come out, just because it's showing that we can be a band and that we can have chemistry and that like we can play and actually like do the shit that we write. And also it's like a glimpse into what we're about to be doing, because the album, as much as it is similar to the stuff before, I feel like we grew a lot between then and now. And even the album after that, or after this, the one that's about to come out, is like exponential growth, constantly figuring out what we want to do and doing it ourselves.
So you think 2021 is going to show a 2 hand sign album?
We could probably do it.
That depends, realistically. It's possible, though.
It's
very
like,
possible.
If we're talking material alone, it's already done.
Yeah.
We're already past that, and we're looking towards what our next body of work, what we want to do exactly. Because this all has been written in a mad dash of a year.
Yeah.
Everything that we have put out thus far, and everything that we're about to put out, has been done in a year.
Yep. 2 EPs, 2 full lengths, and a live session EP, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, like we don't stop moving because he can't sit still, and I refuse to.
Oh yeah. Well, shit, fellas, we got a little more than 2 hours. Thank you guys both for coming on, man.
Oh yeah, of course, dude. Like it was super fun. Like weirdly enough, as far as like music goes, this is the shit that I want to do the most. Is like have people talk to me and like talk to people, because like my personality doesn't come out very well very often, and it's like I have my online persona, but everybody has that, and mine's super self-destructive. But like I love like I watch people's interviews on like radio shows and shit like that all the fucking time. And like I just recently got back into doing that when you like contacted me, and I was like, oh, here's my chance. Like I was like super excited, and like I love talking. Like as much as I don't do it, I love talking.
I love the art of conversation, like the dialogue. Like that's kind of one thing I've hated about like seeing where everything's gone to in the past 4 years, and like so many people just got so angry and then just stayed on their keyboards. It's like, yo, bro, we don't communicate like this. This is a brand new way of communicating. Like it's only like it's less than 1 generation old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And it's still growing. And we're still further immersing ourselves and still figuring out shit. Now is not the time to be trying to use that as like your violent platform.
Yeah. Well, where can folks find the music at?
Literally anywhere that you stream music. We have a YouTube that has not cracked off for some reason, but all of our music videos are on there because Gavin does visuals for everything we release. So like, there's some.
I didn't do Here's Hoping. Jeremy Johnson.
Jeremy did Here's Hoping. But Gavin also directed another one of our music, like our actual music videos. We're about to put out the live sessions. Those videos are going to be out everywhere. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We have a Twitter. We just kind of ignore it. But yeah, you can find us anywhere. You can find us on our personals. Like on my personal, you can see the works in progress and me messing around with shit. With his, you can see his beautiful ass family.
Awesome. Well, Cole, Gavin, thank you guys so much for coming on board, man. Had a lot of fun. Oh my god,
it was fun.
Would you like us to send you, and you can cut this if you want to, would you like us to send you one of the live sessions to add to the end of the podcast?
Oh, dude.
To be released here first.
Dude, totally. We'll totally.
Which one do you want?
Yeah, fuck, I knew you were going to do it that stiff.
You know my vote.
What's your vote?
My vote is the one that you call the country one. or incorrectly named beaches. One of those two.
I think we should do the country song first because beaches is a whole single.
Okay, I'll email it to you. But do you have speakers anywhere? At least you can hear it first.
Not hooked up currently. They're elsewhere. But no, we can totally promo you guys' music at the end of this episode.
Oh, dude, I totally appreciate that.
Hell yeah. High fives all around.
Hell yeah.
Later, y'all.